Hi guys. This was an assignment for yesterday, which would be Tuesday, where you were to look for dialogue and background leads and then write your own. Well, I got a lot of questions saying that they were confused about how to do that and what that meant. So I'm going to change yesterday's assignment to today's assignment, which today is now Wednesday, September 16th. So for our narrative writing, this is just a closer look at what your assignment was yesterday. So our writing agenda is to look at dialogue leads and to look at background leads, and then you will write your own. All right, so I'm going to present this so it's a little bit bigger. Okay, so a dialogue lead means you're starting your story off with people talking to each other. So here's an example from Charlotte's Web. "Where's Papa going with that axe?" said Fern to her mother as they were setting the table for breakfast. "Out to the hog house," replied Mrs. Arable. "Some pigs were born last night." "I don't see why he needs an axe," continued Fern, who was only 8. "Well," said her mother, "one of the pigs is a runt. It's very small and weak, and it will never amount to anything." Let me move my video. "So your father has decided to do away with it." "Do away with it?" shrieked Fern. "You mean kill it, just because it's smaller than the others?" So this is an example of a dialogue lead because there's two characters talking to each other beginning the story. So that's the very first page of Charlotte's Web. The other way you can start a story is with a background, meaning you're giving background information. So we're going to listen to just part of chapter 1 of Wonder. It's a really good book. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it.
Wonder by R.J. Palacio. Chapter 1. Ordinary. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream. I ride my bike. I play ball. I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary. Inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face that no one ever noticed at all.
So this is just the very first page of Wonder, the book. And it's about a boy that has a facial deformity and how his life is difficult for him sometimes when he has to face other people looking at him and maybe making fun of him. So this first page, this author chose to do some background information to lead into his story by describing how old the boy is and how he feels when people react to him and how he wishes he just had a normal face. So there's two different ways you guys can begin your personal narrative. One was with dialogue where characters are talking to each other, or you can write a background lead giving background information about the character, you, or what's going on around you at that time. So I'm going to show you an example of what I put from my dialogue lead and from my background lead. And this is on my personal narrative slideshow. So here it is. And I did tell you guys to read slide 5. So here's slide 5. And it says, "You will need to begin your narrative with an attention-grabbing beginning called a lead. Draw your reader into the action by starting your narrative with a short piece of attention-grabbing dialogue or some attention-grabbing background information that flows right into the action of your story." So here were some other examples besides just books. A dialogue lead: "Welcome to the friendly skies," said the flight attendant as we stepped onto the aircraft. "I can't believe I'm actually doing this," I muttered sourly as I trudged down the narrow aisle to our seats. So two characters talking to each other. Same story, but here's a different way to begin it. "As a person who never flown before, I was literally shaking when I stepped onto the gigantic aircraft. Suddenly, I was facing my fear of flying, and there was no turning back." So two different ways you could begin that story. Here's another example. "Wow, it looks even steeper than I thought," I said worriedly to my older sister, Jennifer. "Just hang on to me if you need to. You'll be okay," she replied as we started up the trail. There's a different way you could have started it. "I took one look and I wanted to stop right there. I begged to go hiking with my older sister and her friends, but this trail looked way too steep for me." Same story, but two different ways you could have started it. So now on slide 6 is when it's your turn to write two options for the beginning of your story. So here's the directions. Create two different leads for your narrative in the spaces below. First, write a lead that uses dialogue. Then write a lead that begins with background information. Read both of your leads and decide which one you like the most. You can ask a friend or someone at home to read both of your leads and then quietly get some feedback on which lead they think is most effective in drawing your reader in, because you want your reader to be interested from the very beginning of your story. Finally, decide which lead you will use. You can also revise the lead or combine part of one lead with another until you like it. So here's mine. Remember, I'm writing about the time I got caught cheating on a test. And so my dialogue lead, I started off by saying, "All right, class, settle down," my teacher, Mrs. Smith, said. "Today I'm passing back your chemistry tests." "Oh, great," I muttered to a classmate near me. I definitely did not do well on that test. So that's one way I could start my essay, my personal narrative. Here's another way I could, with background leading into action of my story. As I trudged toward my last class of the day, chemistry, I began to fill with dread. Today was the day we would get back our chemistry tests, a test that I had definitely studied for, but still felt like I had failed. As I entered the classroom, I saw the giant stack of tests on the teacher's desk, just waiting to ruin my day. So in this example of a lead into my story, I gave you some background info. I told you that I had taken a really big test, and I told you that I was dreading getting it back because I knew I didn't do well. So out of my two leads, I personally like my background lead the best because I feel like it describes more emotion. And so I think when I write my personal narrative, this is what I'm going to choose to start it. So your turn now. I would like you to write on slide number 6. Here's the number right here. On slide 6, I want you to write an example for how you could start your story with dialogue, characters talking, and an example of how you could write your story beginning with background info. Do both of those, and if you already did that yesterday, I'd like you to go back and look at it and revise and edit it to make it even better. All right, if you have any questions, send me a message through It's Learning, and I hope you guys have a great day.